which just want y'all to listen to last week as well if you haven't already. But a quick recount of last week was talking about planting the seed, and the overall story was telling people if you struggle with starting with new beginnings, this is for you, because a lot of people do that. And again, when we talking about this transition season, people are hesitant on starting new beginnings. And shout out to my homegirl EJ, who was on last week, because she talked about her story about how she had been teaching all these years. She was in a real bad accident, and now she literally has to begin again. And me and her the same age. She's 29. And it's just like, we're taught, unfortunately, society teaches that once you're 25, you should be married with kids, or, you don't have, you got a little time before they start judging you. But, they're like, you ain't married with kids, what you doing? You ain't gotten your career, what you doing? And that's not necessarily the case. But y'all got to listen to last week. So anyway, second part, development and germination. And this marks the beginning of a plant's life cycle. It typically starts with the seed. Last week, we talked about containing the embryo of a plant coming into contact, watch this, with favorable conditions such as moisture, oxygen, and suitable temperature. As a result, the seed absorbs the water, triggering biochemical changes within it. This leads to the activation of enzymes, which break down stored nutrients such as starch into simpler forms that the growing embryo can utilize. This early stage of plant development, specifically germination and the emergence phase. So it's so many, I'm a wordsmith, so it's so many words in here I want to break down. So the first one I want to break down is we're talking about favorable conditions. And so when you're planted, favorable conditions. So if you in that season of waiting, there are going to be stuff that's going to happen that are favorable. We always talk about bad stuff, but it's always good stuff that happens too in that season of wait. And in some cases, I think those examples, y'all got to hold on with me because I'm gonna lose it. It's those seasons of wait where something comes and then it gives you like you ain't ready to emerge just yet, but it's helping you with the emergence. Because I look at it like this, where he kind of giving me hints of things that's gonna happen, and that's how God do give you hints of stuff that's gonna happen, and you get the little practice before you get to the real thing. And I didn't host it, a panel, virtual panel for shout out to Man Up Global, based out of St. Louis, for their mental health awareness conversation. I hosted COVID's over now, maybe a year or so ago, where I was basically the host of a panel of people. And if you can't do that stuff, how you gonna get on Revolt and Complex if you can't do this? You know what I'm saying? I saw something on Revolt the other day. I was watching somebody, I forgot who I was watching, and they were talking about how these people, how Revolt especially intentionally reaches out and grabs people who has their own unique views, because we don't want to change their views. We want them to have their views. And that's where they like to showcase different people with different opinions hosting these shows. And so that's a favorable condition. Or how a podcaster who, I'm putting myself on blast here, but I do that, reached out to me. This dude who been keeping up with me, telling me keep inspiring. This man podcast has super surpassed mine as far with numbers and things. And he tells me out of nowhere, he says, "Hey, I just want to let you know, keep doing what you're doing. You inspired me when I first started going." Shout out Charles Hawkins of the Big Dog Podcast. They're going crazy right now. He tells me, he says, keep doing what you're doing. You inspired me. When I first started getting into podcast, I was studying your stuff. And so when he said it, I paused, because I'm thinking, now don't get it twisted, I know my content is great, but you studying me and you surpassed me.
Right.
And I'm not no hater, because I'm going to keep reposting y'all stuff. I keep seeing that people come up with 20K, 30K stuff going crazy. I'm going to repost it because, again, like I said, and I said this, it's like the arrow. Like you going back, you thinking you going backwards. And it seems that way, but really, and not trying to make it a compare and contrast, but when you go out, it's going to be like,
right,
nobody can touch you.
Yep.
So I just think that that's good. And then, of course, I like the word emergence, because that means it's like you coming out of the. All right. So now let's go into the next segment, which is a time of